Welcome to Liberty Nation TV with Scott Cosenza, and joining me today is LibertyNation.com's editor-in-chief, Lisa K. Donner. Welcome, Lisa.
Good to be here, Scott.
And we're going to talk about your piece on LibertyNation.com called The Media Elephant in the Room. And we had a big interview on Sunday with Donald Trump and his seemingly favorite interviewer now, Maria Bartiromo, where he said that there was no free or fair press, I think, in this country.
Yeah, well, he said we don't have any freedom of the press in the country. We have suppression by the press. And I think he makes a valid point. I mean, the point of the press is to deliver the news. And I suppose always, if you even go back to our founding, there have been instances of, well, more than instances, but the press has leaned towards or against. But I think when you omit major pieces of news, like an election that is being actively contested, you don't do the Republic any good.
Is there a story besides the Hunter Biden laptop story, which I think it's not debatable whether that was suppressed? I mean, it was the greatest act of suppression, I think, of a story in recent memory. Is there another that springs to mind that you can think of that really did damage to the Trump candidacy in terms of suppressing it?
Well, I think there are so many right now that are going on with this election fraud situation. I mean, there's, machines breaking in Georgia. There is the FBI possibly investigating election fraud, which you have to find on Russia Today. I mean, why is that? Fox is so ridiculously silent and so on the election fraud issue and willing to kind of go along with the pack. You know, this is the boys on the bus turned 180.
I said to Tim Donner on the Uprising podcast that we recorded, I think it was after the wake of Fox's calling or not calling, depending on how you do the math, from election night. And I said, if you were not a conservative, why would you watch Fox News? And then in the wake of their recent decisions, it seems like if you are a conservative, why would you watch Fox News? Do they have an audience moving forward?
Well, I think they're doing great damage to themselves, and they sort of think they're superior and above it all. But I think what's happening is that their base is sort of floundering right now. They're going to other places. They're going to the alternative outlets. They're going to places like LibertyNation.com or Newsmax, which...
Let me just stop you right there and say, Newsmax had, of course, its own sort of problem with its core audience because of some of the comments of its founder, Chris Ruddy. Do you care to comment on that?
Well, I don't.
Okay.
I said everything I need to say about Chris Ruddy. I thought you were actually stopping the broadcast for a minute there because, my mother always said, when you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all.
Let's say, hypothetically, there was a person out there in the audience.
Let me just say one thing. Let me just cut in and say one thing. Universally, there is one show on Newsmax that is, a lot of people are really enjoying, and that is the Greg Kelly Report. But basically, there's thousands of people adrift because they don't know where to turn to get their news. And what happens is that when big tech teams up with big media or so-called big box media, you get a real mess on your hands. So then you have big tech suppressing, say, not the Washington Post, the New York Post story on Hunter Biden. Then you have the news media outlets, mainstream news media outlets, deciding they're not going to talk about election fraud issues at all and just go about on their merry way. I mean, that really is leaving the elephant in the middle of the room.
Okay, well, perhaps it's time to let the healing begin, or too soon for the people.
The problem is you can't call for unity and peace and love and kumbaya if you haven't let people have their time to air their grievances. They need to be heard. And shutting them up and shutting them down is just not a good method to heal or to be unified. So, they're going to cover the fact that Joe Biden was playing with his dog and has a hairline fracture in his foot. Fine, but that shouldn't be instead of the fact that the FBI may be looking into election fraud. That shouldn't be instead of what happened last week in Gettysburg. That shouldn't be instead of, all the things that are, whether they're legitimate or not, isn't the point. They're news, they're happening. Sidney Powell puts out some information. It should be reported. Again, whether it is viable or not is not up to the media. This era of omission is getting to be ridiculous.
Lisa, I think you're behind the news here in the cycle. I will tell you that it was revealed this past weekend that Joe Biden and Dr. Biden are adding a cat to the Biden household. So there you have it. That'll be the new thing.
I was going to say, is that on the front page of the New York Times today?
Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. And thank you at home. That's it for this edition of Liberty Nation TV. Remember to hit Liberty Nation News for original articles, the Uprising and Rabbit Hole podcasts, and our signature television program, The Conservative 5. Just go to libertynation.com on your browser or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Scott Cosenza. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of libertynation.com, conservative news where truth matters now.
Go deeper on the topic discussed in this video, head on over to one of these links here or go to our Liberty Nation Roku channel. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for Liberty.